slip to sin. These songs of freedom is all I ever have.
That was, of course, a clip from Bob Marley, One Love, which was the #1 movie in the box office once again this weekend for the second week in a row. And, it's a PG-13 rated musical biopic, and I was skeptical going into it when I found out about that PG-13 rating. I didn't end up liking the movie. A lot of critics actually didn't end up liking the movie, but 2 weeks in a row now, it just crossed $100 million worldwide. Audiences seem to really like it, but I can't help but think about the rating system as a whole. I mean, the rating system has been broken for a number of years now, decades now, and so because there was nothing else that came out around here that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about Drive-Away Dolls and also Tenet, but neither one of those movies opened up in theaters this weekend, so for this week's episode of Talking About the Movies, I'm going to talk about the rating system and how I think that it's very much broken, and quite frankly, it needs a redux pretty quickly. So join me as I talk about the problems with the MPAA's rating system. There are a lot of problems with the rating system that the Motion Picture Association of America uses, and we can pretty much sum up one of the biggest ones right away by taking a look at all 5 of the ratings that they have. You used to see these posters all over the place at movie theaters. They had all these different ones. One of them looked like one for Star Wars. The one I'm looking at right here is one that features a lot of drawings here. And basically, here's a rundown of what the rating system is like. Basically, you have, first of all, the G rating, which is states that nothing that would offend parents for viewing by children. And you see in the picture that I'm showing you here, pretty much everybody can go see this movie with no problems whatsoever. The PG rating, parental guidance suggested, some material may not be suitable for children. Parents are urged to get parental guidance, may contain some material parents might not like for their young children. And you see in the picture, it's basically kind of the same except for as the G rating image, except there's no, obviously there's no like dog there, and it's very much condensed down compared to what the G rating is. PG-13, parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under 13, which is basically parents are urged to be cautious. Some material may be inappropriate for pre-teenagers, and in the picture you see the couple covering the eyes of the kids and the bunny that they have there. And so then we get to the R rating, restricted, under 17, requires accompanied parent or adult guardian. Contains some adult material. Parents are urged to learn more about the film before taking their young children with them. And then finally we have the NC-17 rating, and the NC-17 rating is, of course, no one under 17 will be admitted to this film. Particularly adult, children are not admitted. So basically that kind of thing right there. And you'll notice by those 5 there's something critical that you need to take note of with the 5 ratings there. And that's that 2 of them don't really exist anymore. Like the G rating and the NC-17 rating are not there anymore. Like nobody really ever uses those ratings anymore. Like the NC-17 rating, they made a big deal about putting this rating out there back in 1990 because they thought the X rating was a little bit too much. They wanted, and everyone was pretty much proclaiming that there should be an adults-only rating. Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert were actually at the forefront of that conversation back in the late 1980s.
In the days of Midnight Cowboy, the X meant adults only. Today it means only one thing: hardcore pornography. So isn't it time for the movie industry to face reality and create a new rating for those movies that are not suitable for kids under 17, but which are also not hardcore? Isn't it time for an A rating for adults only that would give directors a reasonable alternative to the X rating, which has become a poisoned mark of shame?
And the MPAA never really did anything until very much into the new decade of the 1990s, when they eventually decided to put out the NC-17 rating, basically abandoning the X rating altogether and using Henry and June as the first film to really use the NC-17 rating it's basically a test to see whether or not this thing actually has some value to it. And the film was received decently well by critics, but overall it wasn't the big financial success I think they wanted it to be. It only grossed about $11.5 million at the box office, but Henry and June actually is a really good movie. It's not a movie that... the point of the NC-17 rating is that it's supposed to be for adult movies, not movies that are specifically, like sex and erotica all over the place. Kind of like it's not a softcore porn movie, and this movie definitely is not a softcore porn movie. It's an adult movie that has scenes of love and intimacy and sex in it that doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like it's being forced in a way that most people think the X rating is supposed to be like. And the film didn't do so well, but it did decent numbers over. It didn't do like crazy numbers, but it did decent enough numbers. But not enough for anyone to really say that we should probably continue this going forward. And over the next couple of years, they'd be very sparsely used, not for wider releases. Like you get it for ratings for, like the Andrew Dice Clay movie, Dice Rules, or something like Bad Lieutenant. Which Bad Lieutenant is an amazing film, but that was only opened in a limited number of theaters. But it did go on to become one of the most acclaimed movies from the director Abel Ferrara, as well as star Harvey Keitel. And it went on to have a cult following of its own, even spawning a sequel that came out almost 17 years later with Nicolas Cage and directed by Werner Herzog. I think what eventually killed the possible hype of the NC-17 rating was the fact that Showgirls in 1995 came out. And of course, if you saw Showgirls, then you know exactly why it kind of flopped. And Showgirls was supposed to be the big movie that was supposed to show that NC-17 has a value in the marketplace, and it kind of bombed at the box office pretty badly. The controversy behind the movie, the fact that it was Joe Esterhaus, who was not seen as a very good writer, directed by Paul Verhoeven, had a good cast overall to it, and it was the first major wide release for an NC-17 movie. It was a tough thing for them to do, to really, to sell this movie out to people, even though it has an NC-17 rating and only a certain number of people can go and see it. So unfortunately, it panned at the box office, and it was actually given an R-rated release for its video release. And eventually it went on to have a massive cult following in the long run, and went on to become known as somewhat of a serious satire worthy of praise by some people. And yeah, it has gone on to have a cult following to it, but in the end, it really was the final nail in the coffin for an NC-17 being considered as a wide threat, because everything that came out after that were pretty much just limited releases. We did get some good NC-17 movies though in that process. We got stuff like Broken English. We got Orgasmo, which is the South Park movie that came out around the time that South Park was premiering with Trey Parker and Matt Stone in it. The Dreamers is a very good movie. Bernardo Bertolucci directed that one. Bad Education, Lust, Caution, Blue is the Warmest Color. We just recently had Blonde with Anna de Armas in it. So the NC-17 rating is not gone per se, but that hype that they were hoping that the NC-17 rating would basically up the ante and become like a big thing for the MPAA never really took off, because I think they didn't know what to do with it per se. Like, they couldn't sell it as much as a PG-13, a PG, R, or G-rated film. But let's talk about the G rating for a second, because that's the other one I want to talk about here, and the fact that the G rating is hardly ever used. Like, nobody really ever uses it anymore, and that to me is probably more baffling than the NC-17. With the NC-17 rating, you can kind of understand why it's hard to sell the NC-17 rating, because, it's hard to sell that to a wide audience when you know that these movies are only going to be for a specific audience. So the NC-17 rating, I can understand that. The G rating, however, I have no idea why nobody uses that anymore. It's like when you look at family films nowadays, like the G rating doesn't really have a place in movies anymore, because most of the time when a new animated movie comes out for kids, specifically for kids, it hardly ever gets a G rating. It always just goes straight to PG. Like, PG is now the new low for the rating, and I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense per se. There have been some very unique cases with the G rating over the years. Like, of course, many people forget that something like a classic film like 2001: A Space Odyssey was actually rated G, even though that has like a very prolonged death scene with a victim visibly suffering as he's trying to breathe. There's a lot of multiple deaths in the movie. There's a lot of intense themes. But the deaths are not violent. The idea that children may not understand or recognize the deaths, it was rated as a G-rated film. But that was back when the G rating actually meant something. I mean, the Don Bluth movies of the 1980s, Secret of NIMH, Land Before Time, An American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven, were all rated G. I mean, Disney had a lot of G-rated movies. Their first PG-rated animated movie was The Black Cauldron. And even then, it was seen as something different for Disney back then because they made a lot of G-rated films. But like The Straight Story has a lot of has a G rating to it, despite having some profanity into it. And the idea of the G rating on that one is that the themes of the film would bore children, and very mild uses of profanity, like "damn it, hell" are in this movie. And most recently, they had like Cars 2. Cars 2 was rated G, despite it containing multiple explosions and other scenes that may frighten young children. So I guess because of that, that's why the G rating kind of fell off. Even though Cars 3, I think, was rated G as well, but they very rarely use the G rating. There's some movies on here that actually have surprised. Is that you might be surprised still uses the G rating. Like Monsters University has a G rating to it, even though I think Monsters Incorporated has the PG rating to it, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. Monsters Inc. does have a G rating to it. Finding Nemo had a G rating to it, even though the sequel's rated PG. Like, I find that's very interesting. The Real movies are rated G. The Peanuts movie is rated G as well. Toy Story 4 is rated G. Paw Patrol the movie was rated G, even though the sequel Paw Patrol the Mighty movie got a PG rating, which I'll get to that in just a second here. But you very rarely see the G rating being used anymore, so it really makes you wonder, why does the MPAA just cut down the two ratings it barely uses anymore if they're not going to use them at all? Like, you can cut down the G rating and the NC-17 rating, I don't think anybody would really notice. And you could release those NC-17 movies unrated too. I mean, you should be able to do that, but why not get rid of them? I mean, why not just get rid of them altogether? And why not use them? Why don't they use them overall? Like, here's my thinking behind this. I'm going to go into a little bit of conspiracy theory time. I mean, this may not be the case, but it's hard not to think that when you really look at these movies. Like, the way the MPAA runs its system. Like, we barely have any G-rated movies anymore. We barely have any NC-17 rated movies anymore. The lowest one you always see is the PG rating, then the PG-13 rating, and then the R rating. I get the feeling that the MPAA does not watch every single movie that it's supposed to rate, because sometimes the rating system makes no sense whatsoever. A movie that clearly has enough in there to have a G rating to it doesn't have that anymore. It just gets bumped up to PG. Like, in what world would a My Little Pony movie, two My Little Pony movies that we had recently, the My Little Pony movie from 2017, and then the second one that went to Netflix, I think. Why would those movies get a PG rating when My Little Pony is clearly for a G-rated audience? I mean, what? Because of some more? It's like, I don't know. Like, it feels really weird to have a My Little Pony movie rated PG when that's clearly something intended for a G-rated audience. Like, it's the original My Little Pony movie from the 1980s got a G rating, but the new ones get a PG rating because of some thematic elements. Which, it's funny because I just watched the commercial for what movie was it? There was a movie that I watched for Talkin for Time About the Movies not too long ago. The Man Who Wasn't There. There was a TV spot, and they showed the rating for The Man Who Wasn't There, and it's a rated R movie. And what's the reason why it's rated R? For a scene of violence. That's literally what the reason why the rating is R for that movie is, because it has a scene of violence in it. And I mean, don't a lot of PG-13 movies have a scene of violence? Like, what kind of violence are you talking about? Like, maybe if you were more descriptive about it, like, what kind of violence is it? Is it like domestic violence? Is it like intense violence or something like that? But no, it's just a scene of violence. Like, that I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why they don't. Is like, if you're gonna have that thing there to tell you why it's rated this thing, you got to be more descriptive than that. You've got to give me something else besides it's rated R because of a scene of violence. Like, that's the most generic reason for a movie to be rated something I think I've ever seen. And there's probably even worse than that, but I don't know. Let me see if I can find something here, because I'm curious. I just found something on Reddit here, and these are some pretty good ones. So there's a thing on Reddit called Absurd Movie Rating Reasons, and I think this is pretty good. I think some of these are pretty good. Like, Twister is rated PG-13 because of intense depictions of very bad weather. Yeah, it's called Twister. I mean, what the hell did you think it was going to mean? Matilda is rated PG for elements of exaggerated meanness and ridicule and for some mild language. I mean, exaggerated meanness and ridicule is now seen as a reason why something has to be rated PG. It's just like, and here's some good ones here. Fight Club's rated R for disturbing and graphic depictions of violent, antisocial behavior. Just say intense violence. I mean, why do you gotta make it much harder than it actually is? I mean, like, the Fugitives rated PG-13 for murder and other action sequences in an adventure setting. Like these seem very descriptive, but also kind of lazy at the same time. Indian in the Cupboard rated PG for mild violence and brief video images of violence and sexy dancing. What does that even mean? Brief video images of violence and sexy dancing. Like, I've seen Indian in the Cupboard. There ain't no sexy dancing in that movie. I don't know what the hell they were thinking on that one, but Alien vs. Predator rated PG-13 for violence, language, horror images, slime, and gore. I guess that's the only way you can get a PG-13 rating, I guess, but Grumpy Old Man rated PG-13 for salty language and innuendos with old people. I had that last part in there, but salty language and innuendos. Like, Josh and Sam rated PG-13 for kids in jeopardy. I mean, you get the idea here. Like, if you're going to have that reasoning for why the ratings are, just make it simple for everybody. Just don't make it too extreme. Just like there's another one, Chappaquiddick, rated PG-13. Why? For historical smoking. I mean, like, there's being descriptive, and then there's really being nitpicky, and those are the ones that are just like, they're really being nitpicky, and unfortunately, that's just the way the MPAA is. Like, I still think that they don't watch all those movies because their job is to watch every single movie and give an honest rating to it. If you have to be like. But I really do feel like they don't watch some of these movies. They just look at what they see. They see it's a kid's movie. They see it's a kid's movie with a lot of bright colors, bright animation, and so maybe some innuendos in there. It's just rated PG. I mean, we're not going to watch it. I mean, we can't put rated G because G is apparently a death nail in the movie industry now. But you get the idea here. I feel like they don't watch all the movies that they're supposed to be watching, and it really is kind of a bummer because that's your main job. Like, you have any idea how much I would pay to have a job at the MPAA? So I get to watch movies all day long and I get to rate them too. I mean, sign me up for that. But yeah, I don't know. I think the rating system as a whole is broken. It's been broken for a long time now, and I don't know. Whenever Bob Marley One Love got that PG-13 rating, and I just kept thinking of all those bad PG-13 music biopics we've gotten. Not to say there haven't been good ones either. I mean, we've had Ray, we've had Walk the Line, but that was almost 20 years ago, and like, now it's the Bohemian Rhapsody formula, it's the Whitney Houston formula. They're really making these movies specifically, I think, only because, you know, they want to bring they want to bring as many people into the movie theater instead of actually trying to tell a story about these people, their real backstories behind them. Like, don't be afraid to tell the real stories, people. I mean, like, I think it's mostly because of the people behind the scenes, like the families and friends behind them. It's just like, well, we don't want this guy that we've come to know and love to be seen in a bad light. Like, the stuff's already out there. He's already been seen. They've already been seen in a bad light in some way, shape, or form. So, just don't be afraid to tell the truth. I mean, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but you know what? Telling the truth is better than telling this fantasy storyline, like you did with Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, that's one of those ones where it's just like, I always keep going back to it because that's just the worst example of what this has become now. Because that was a big success. Rami Malek got the Oscar, even though the clip they showed him that night was him for just lip syncing instead of actually acting, which should tell you everything you need to know about that. It's just like we need more biopics like Rocket Man. Like, you could be as fantasy, put up as much fantasy as you want to, but tell a good story. Tell a story that's not afraid to show the cold hard truth about specific people. And you get a great movie like that, and unfortunately nobody's doing that. They want to do Bohemian Rhapsody because that was the bigger success. It's why I'm not excited for the Michael Jackson biopic. I mean, I want to see it. It's got a good director. It's Michael Jackson, but I just feel like they're going to do the same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's done with the same writer, too. Plus, that needs to be more than one movie. You need to do what they're doing with the Beatles right now. Make it more than one movie, because Michael Jackson's life is more than just one movie. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to do for this specific episode, because I couldn't get to see Drive-Away Dolls or Tenet this weekend, so I wanted to give you something, but that was something that was bugging me ever since I found out that Bob Marley One Love got the PG-13 rating. But let me know down below. What do you guys think? Do you think the MPAA rating system is broken? Do you think they need to cut the G rating and the NC-17 rating and just be PG, PG-13, and R? Let me know your thoughts down below. I would like to hear it a lot. And next week, I promise to get back to new movies, of course, with Dune Dune Part 2 coming out next week. So there will definitely be a review for that here on the channel. So definitely look for that. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and like I said, put your discussion down below about the MPAA rating system. Do you think it's broken? Do you think it needs to be changed around? I certainly think it does, but with that said, thank you for watching and taking the time to check this out, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, take care.